everyone. Welcome to today's story in Maya Katha, presented to you by Priyanka K. Mohan and Krithika Muralidhara. So today's story is called The Fallout Between Drona and Drupada. So you must have guessed by now that the story is from the great epic Mahabharata. Let's get started with the story. Let me begin the story by introducing you to the characters of the play. Let's take our first character, Drona. I think some of you might have already heard about Dronacharya in the play Mahabharata. Did you know he was son of Bharadwaja and he had a wife called Kripa and they had a son called Ashwatthama. Drona was an excellent archer. He was so good that he decided to do a living by teaching this to others.
Now, let us learn about the other character who is part of the story. His name is Drupada. By the sound of his name, you think he might be related to Draupadi from Mahabharata. You're absolutely right. He was her father. But he was also the king of Panchala, the capital of which was Ahichatra. It's alright if you can't remember all of it. I'll remind you later.
Years ago, Drona and Drupada studied together at the Gurukul of Bharadwaja. Let's wait here. Who is Bharadwaja? Yes, you're right. Bharadwaja is father of Drona. So they studied archery together. And just like any two best friends would do, Drona and Drupada did most of the things together and they were inseparable.
After years of being and studying together, sadly, it was time for them to go their separate ways. Drupada was then the prince of Panchala. He told Drona, "My dear friend, I am destined to become the king of Panchala someday. Even though we are parting now, please know that whenever you are in need, you can come to me and I will give you half of my kingdom. It's a promise."
Reluctantly, they both said their goodbyes. Drona was very skilled but poor. Like I mentioned earlier, Drona was teaching archery to students but hadn't been so successful in doing so. Drona lived with his wife Kripa and son Ashwatthama. So what happened was, one day, young Ashwatthama came running to his mother because he started craving for having some milk. He said, "Amma, can you please give me some milk?" But there was none at home. Mother helplessly mixed some rice flour and gave it to Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama, hungry and craving for milk, tasted this weird mixture and said, "Ew, Amma, it's weird." But the mother consoled young Ashwatthama and said, "Please adjust, Matko." Drona, seeing all this, started getting very angry at himself. He said to himself, "What kind of a father am I when I can't give my child a glass of milk?" And that's when he remembered Drupada's promise. So he decided to go to Drupada to ask for a cow so that he can give his son milk every day. Drona started his long journey to Ahichatra, the capital of Panchala. Okay, let's pause here. Who was the king of Panchala? Yeah, Drupada was the king of Panchala. So Drona walked and it took him long time to reach Panchala. And by the time he reached the palace, his clothes had worn out and he was tired and hungry. But the excitement of meeting his long lost best friend kept him going.
But Drupada was a changed man. When his guards informed him of this visitor who had come to greet him, he thought, "Oh no, Drona must have remembered the promise I made to him years ago. I hope he is not here to ask for half of my kingdom. Why did I even promise him anything in the first place? But then he reluctantly asked his guards to send him in. Drona entered expecting to embrace his childhood friend. But Drupada, on the other hand, just remained seated on the throne and made no move. And Drupada wanted to make things clear, so he said, "Oh Drona, I know I made a very silly and an immature promise during our childhood, and I know that is why you are here. But I hope you know by now that a friendship can exist between only two people who are of the same stature. I am a king and you are a commoner. Now, please don't ask me for something that does not befit your stature."
Drona was humiliated. Drona said to himself that Drupada hadn't even asked him how I've been, and all I wanted was a cow, not even his kingdom. He thought he's not only insulted him but also their friendship. Drona said, "O king, I just came here to ask for a cow. But you're right. There's no really a match between the two of us. I'm far more knowledgeable and superior than you. And since you just said that our friendship does not exist anymore, I no longer need what I came here for. I shall befriend you the day that I win half of your kingdom. Goodbye, Drupada."
On his way back, Drona saw a bunch of boys playing outside in the garden. As he was just walking past them, and the ball that they were playing with fell into the well. So the boys gathered around the well discussing how to get this ball out. So Drona asked, "Children, you look like you're from the royal palace. Hasn't your teacher taught you anything in archery? You can't get a ball out of a well?" The boys remained silent and bent their heads down in shame.
Meanwhile, Drona used his skills to get the ball out of the well. The boys ran and in excitement said, "Wow!" And one among the boys was very inspired by Drona and wanted to learn all the skills and become a great archer. Immediately, all the boys ran back to the palace and narrated this incident to their grandfather. And the grandfather was none other than the great Bhishma. Bhishma heard the incident and thought, "Oh, this man is indeed special and I must meet him." And they made all arrangements for Bhishma to meet Drona. Drona lived in a small ashram in the outskirts. After meeting Bhishma, Bhishma requested Drona to teach the skill of archery to his grandchildren. And that's how Drona became the guru of the Pandavas and the Kauravas.
As days passed, Pandavas, Kauravas, and Ashwadhama, who is Ashwadhama? Drona's son. Yes. All of them mastered the skills of archery from their beloved guru Drona. Bhishma was so impressed that he offered enough wealth to Drona to last a lifetime. But Drona refused. But then it was a tradition to give Guru Dakshina, a payment of some kind to one's guru for having received education. So Drona said, "All right, you can pay me Guru Dakshina, but I don't want gold or any other form of wealth. I want you to perform a task for me instead." So the boys were very eager to follow their guru's instructions and they said, "Guruji, your wish is our command. Please tell us what is on your mind." So Drona said, "All right, I want you all to drive to Panchala and defeat King Drupada. Tie him to a chariot and bring him here."
Kauravas laughed and said, "This is such an easy task, Guruji. Don't worry. Think that your work is done. And we'll do it on our own. We don't want to share our Guru Dakshina with the Pandavas." Drona smiled and agreed. So Kauravas headed out to Panchala and they fought a fierce battle with Drupada. Remember, Drupada was a great archer too. So Drupada was a great warrior and he fought with Kauravas and Kauravas were defeated. They headed back to Drona to share the sad news. Now Drona was worried. He turned to the Pandavas and said, Pandavas, you're my last resort. Please ensure that this task is done. Arjuna stepped up and said, Guruji, don't worry, your wish will definitely be fulfilled. Keep faith in me. And now the Pandavas headed out to fight the battle against Drupada. The battle continued, and it was very two strong parties fighting against each other. And Drupada finally had to lose for the mighty Pandavas. Arjuna then dragged him and tied him to the chariot and brought him to Guru Dronacharya.
Elated, Drona said, Thank you, my dear students. Your duty is now over. You may go back to your palace now. As the students left, he untied Drupada's hands and offered him a seat. The sullen Drupada did not pay heed. So Drona said, My dear friend Drupada, I know it must be really difficult to listen to me right now, especially after losing your kingdom to my students. But I will still respect you despite the inequalities of our positions now. I will not treat you the way you treated me. So I will take back half of the kingdom and name Kampilya the capital, and I will give you the other half. So you may go back as a king in my chariot now.
Drupada was ashamed and was in no position to negotiate with his friend Drona. He realized that he hadn't been there for his friend when he needed him the most. Sad that he had to learn this the hard way. And I hope all of you enjoyed today's story. Just to make this a little more interesting, we'll leave you with what happened towards the end of Mahabharata between Drona and Drupada. Drupada had two children, Drishtadyumna and Draupadi. Drupada still remembered what Drona had done to him and wanted to take some revenge on him. So he did finally take revenge on Drona through his son Drishtadyumna. And he also got his daughter Draupadi married to Arjuna, the great warrior of those times.
Thank you for listening and watching. Hope you enjoyed the story.